Pastor Wyman, it's good to meet you. We are here in your home in Paradise, California. It's a beautiful place. And we're many miles away from Azure Hills, where the story of the Azure Hills Church began about 50 years ago. It's been quite a while. So today we're just going to spend a little bit of time reminiscing and remembering those years when the church that we love had its beginnings. Today Azure Hills is a vibrant church. It's a family-friendly church. It's an amazing community of faith. And so we'd like to just ask you a few questions. And so our first question today is that at the beginning of the Azure Hills Church, we find that it didn't happen the way most churches get their start. Can you tell us a little bit about how Azure Hills had its start?
Well, it was a country club that went bankrupt. And it went bankrupt probably because it only had a pitch and putt course on it. And I think that those who refer to themselves as golfers are not happy to just pitch and putt. They want to hit a ball a long way. And I think that was one of the major reasons that it went bankrupt. It went up for sale. And one of our evangelists in southeastern California by the name of Don Gray discovered that it was for sale. And he looked it over and he thought, wow, this is a place that we could have a church. So he went back and told the conference president, Elder John Osborne. And they sent a delegation out to look at it. And Don Gray then made the initial contact, and all the details were made out so that eventually the conference bought the complex that was a fellowship, well, what we now call a fellowship hall. It was a big dining room, and they had a big kitchen, and this little pitch and putt golf course. And that's what it amounted to begin with.
At what point in the beginning of the process did you get involved?
Eventually, they were searching for a pastor. At that time, I was pastor of the Hollywood Church in Southern California Conference. And it was a fairly new church, and I was enjoying that. I'd been there about 4 years. And so Elder John Osborne contacted me and asked if Donna and I would be willing to come and pastor this brand new church with, it was a country club setting. It had all kinds of sports equipment. There was tennis courts and volleyball, and there was a stainless steel snack bar out in the back of the country club, and there was a swimming pool, and the swimming pool was Olympic sized. It was wonderful, and I am sports minded, and also the challenge of something new. Now he said there are going to be no members. You're going to have to pull together a membership. And he handed me a $500,000 bill. Wow. And he said, you will have to work at that even with no members. So that was a challenge. And I said, okay, I'll be happy to come. I'm a missionary kid who grew up where you take challenges. And I said, okay, fine, I'll try that. So that's how we got involved.
What made you decide to leave the Hollywood Church to come to Southeastern California Conference to the Azure Hills Church, the newly formed Azure Hills Church?
It was the challenge, and it was the excitement of it all and the hype of it all that we couldn't resist. Donna and I talked it over, we prayed about it, and felt very impressed that this is exactly what we should do to come and pastor that church.
Tell us about the charter members of this newly formed church, about maybe their demographics, and where did people come from in the general area to come to Azure Hills Church?
Well, interesting that these people came as looky-loos from Riverside and Redlands and San Bernardino and Colton and all that area. So the demographics were people that lived in the Inland Empire, and they came from Loma Linda. Interestingly enough, we had quite a few join us from Loma Linda who were kind of tired of just sitting in pews, and they wanted to be busy for the Lord. And so that's kind of how the membership grew, and it was the kind of membership we had. There was a lot of hype. There was a lot of excitement about this new church that was beginning. And it was a very exciting time. I have to tell you that from day one, it was a fun place to be. The swimming pool, that really was the big attraction for the kids. And every Saturday night we had it was open to any kids, Adventists or their friends, they could bring. And the swimming pool was manned with lifeguards. We had it all under control. We had huge crowds on Saturday night, and the parents would sit on the back porch and order hamburgers and French fries and what have you from the snack bar, and young people would take their orders and bring so it was a big center, and there was a lot of excitement, and people loved it.
What sorts of challenges did you face as you now began to meet in what used to be country club facilities?
Okay, the first challenge was to find rooms for Sabbath school rooms. And that required us to do something with all the kitchen equipment. It was said that at the time, that kitchen was the third largest in Southern California, of all restaurants and everything. It was a huge kitchen. And we had to sell off the equipment in the kitchen. We kept some equipment so that we'd have a little kitchen ourselves, but we did sell off freezers and ovens and stoves and refrigerators and so on. We got about a dime on the dollar, they say, but we did have to do that and then jackhammer the floor and redo the floor in the kitchen so that it was level. And then after that, the second part of that was to find leadership for the various divisions, Sabbath school divisions, and to find people who would be willing to participate, not only as leaders, but as participants in the various Sabbath school departments.
So I hear that your family had an interesting encounter with the fountain or the pond as we know it today. Can you tell us a little bit about that encounter?
Happy to do that. The first Sabbath that we were there, we had two children that were with us. A son that was 6 years old and a daughter that was 11. And so as we came into the foyer, and there was this fish pond, it was too much for Scott. He just, as a 6-year-old boy, we found, we got to talking with people and we were visiting and didn't notice that he had gotten up on the rocks of the fish pond and he was walking around the rocks. And when we saw him, about that time he just fell into the fish pond. Now, it was a surprise to the fish, but it was more of a surprise to his mother. And because we didn't have any other clothes for him that day, And here he was with a brand new pair of pants, and they were sopping wet. And I forget exactly what we did with that, but that was a very great introduction to the Azure Hills program.
I'm sure there are a lot of interesting stories that you remember. Are there any more that you would like to share with us today?
Well, finding leadership for the senior Sabbath schools, the senior classes, was interesting. We did develop a choir that sat up on the high part or the rise there in the fellowship hall, and they blessed us all with music each week. Another part of this was developing elders and deacons and deaconesses and so on. And they chose Weldon Wise as the first head elder. In fact, all the years I was there, he was the head elder. But there were many other leading laymen who had very important parts in the development of the church and the Sabbath school and all the details of its development. I was very sad on the day that I heard that the church board had decided to fill in the swimming pool with sand, because that was one of the most important items that brought people to the church. I mean, non-Adventist people. We had lots of them come because their kids were a part of the swimming pool. And I felt that I'm sure there were very good reasons why they felt they had to fill in the swimming pool with sand. But it was a sad day when that happened. There was a very great spirit in the development of this church, that people were, you never heard a grumbling word. There were no negatives, no cliques, no factions. It was just a church that loved to be there. They loved to see the development, and there was just a general expression of love and kindness to one another. Everybody was a part of what was developing there at Azure Hills. And I will tell you, it was a joy and a thrill to be a part of the beginning of that church. Folk came from north, south, east, and west to look at it, to be amazed at the development of this church, and then become a part of it. They liked what they saw, and they became a part of it. And the Pathfinders, by the way, were developed there, and they marched on the 9th green back of the church. They did their marching back there, and we had basketball and volleyball, and it was just a great spirit of that church in its beginning. The social opportunities were tremendous.
We are so grateful for the opportunity to have come here to your home, to get to know each other, and to remember how the Azure Hills Church started and how God has blessed as the years have gone by. It's been a thriving church for now 50 years, and we look forward to continue to work together until Jesus returns.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate it very much. And God bless you, and have a safe journey home.